Dubai authorities say that there are no injuries reported after debris fell on a building in the city's Internet City district. They say it followed an aerial interception with fragments hitting the facade of an office building. In Bahrain, sirens have sounded across the country. Authorities told people to stay calm and move to safe locations. And in Saudi Arabia, civil defense warned of a potential threat in the eastern province, but later said that the danger had passed. Al Jazeera's Malik Traina is in Kuwait City, covering developments across the Gulf. Malik, are we still seeing the same pace of Iranian attacks on Gulf and Middle East countries at this point?
Well, sir, it goes up and down on a daily basis, but they still continue. You know, you mentioned in the UAE, Dubai, saying that debris fall, that the authorities responded to an incident due to debris fall from an interception that hit the facade of the Oracle building. In the last 48 hours, the IRGC said that they would be targeting American IT companies, renewing that threat. We also saw just a little bit before that, authorities in Dubai saying they responded to yet another incident from debris fall at the Dubai Marina, but they said no casualties or fires were reported. In Bahrain, there was numerous alarms throughout the morning. The Ministry of Interior saying 4 people were sustained minor injuries and several homes were damaged due to an interception in the city of Sitra. That's an island city 5 kilometers south to the capital, Manama. It's a really important city for Bahrain because it houses the Sitra oil refinery, fuel tanks. It's also a key transit hub for aluminum and fuel for Bahrain. So these attacks have been continuing. They've been relentless since the beginning of this war. And we're the looming deadline, that 10-day deadline is edging closer. We're just 2 days away from the deadline that President Trump imposed that he would completely destroy Iran's power facilities. And people get worried because what we've seen is Iran then retaliates here in the Gulf. I mean, here in Kuwait City yesterday, a power and desalination plant was hit, and also the Ahmadi oil refinery was hit. So as we edge closer to this 10-day deadline, people here become extremely concerned.
Malik, the entire region is reeling from the partial, near total, I should say, closure of the Strait of Hormuz. They can't get their oil or gas out to market, except that some tankers are making it through. How is that happening?
Well, in effect, Iran has now become the gatekeeper of the Hormuz Strait. We've seen some countries, as you mentioned, being able to get through, including Japan, Thailand, Malaysia, China, India. What we're starting to see is countries begin negotiations directly with Iran to ensure that their ships are going through. We heard reports yesterday that the Philippines were able to negotiate a deal to allow their vessels through. We heard last week Pakistan negotiating for 20 vessels to be able to get through the strait. There's an estimated 2,000 to 3,000 vessels that are stranded there. And, what we're starting to see is Iran, in effect, being able to decide who and who cannot go through. Yesterday we saw that the first Western vessel, a French-flagged vessel, was able to get through. There's a lot of speculation as to why, but at the UN Security Council, Bahrain is now chairing the Security Council for the month of April. They drafted a resolution that included using military force to open the strait to ensure the flow of supply through the strait. And there are reports that the French, as well as the Russian and the Chinese, blocked that resolution. It's now been postponed for a couple of days. There's also talk of the Iranians or Omanians coming up with some kind of policy for the Hormuz. But we're going to have to wait and see if that's acceptable to the world, to the GCC, and as well as President Trump, who has thousands of soldiers in the region.
And Malik, by the way, just letting our viewers know that we're looking at a live tracker right now of ships around the Strait of Hormuz. So the Strait of Hormuz itself is that narrowest point of the waterway, about 30 kilometers wide. And what you see is all those dots, red, blue, and green. Most of them, the vast majority, are on either side of the strait, but they're not actually passing through. So the red dots are tankers, that's oil or gas tankers. The green dots are cargoes. There are very few actually in the strait. Malik Traina, reporting from Kuwait City. Thank you very much for that.